So I've worked on a number of projects related to real estate community development in Tampa and in Baltimore. By far, this presentation that I'm going to present today is by far the best when we talk about best practices related to private, public, private, and community partnership. One of the tools we used related to the upcoming project that I'm about to talk about is known as a community benefit agreement slash CRA tip. This is one of the many different tools that you can use in terms of finding funding for critical projects. The project I'm about to talk about is called the Rome Yard Project. The Rome Yard Project came about because the city was looking for a way to redevelop some land that it owned. And as a result of that came the Rome Yard Project, which is a partnership between the city of Tampa, the Tampa Housing Authority, and related groups. Also included in that is the West Tampa CDC, East Tampa CDC, and neighborhood groups and community residents. What is unique about this collaboration is that the community, by way of the West Tampa CDC, was part of the planning group at the top level related to this project. This video, let me show you some of the different individuals that's in this video. The gentleman here is the CEO of the related group. Let me give you a little bit of information about the related group. The related group has done over $50 billion in sales. 50 billion. Below him is Pete. Pete is the point guy for the project for Tampa. This particular meeting included 19 different other folks that you don't see on the screen. These were CEOs of different companies like the East Tampa CDC, and some other major players at the high level, as well as high level government officials. That's what we're talking about when we talk about how do we change the narrative to make sure the community is at the table. The way this deal was worked, and I want to give a shout out to the COO of Tampa Housing Authority, Leroy Moore, who's an advocate of affordable housing and an advocate of making sure that marginalized communities are able to position themselves to be unmarginalized. It meant a lot because as you see, we're at the table, and the takeaways, and we'll talk about that on the other end of this video, is what we brought back to the community. Unless groups are able to negotiate a deal at the top level during those discussions, and have a to enable and then be able to bring back resources, meaningful resources, and we're going to talk about what meaningful resources are, then gentrification flourish. If we're going to be intentionally about how do we reduce and how do we um, um, increase opportunities, then we need to be facilitating these high level type of meetings. So I don't want to go on and keep talking. Let's just go over what the meeting was all about and the takeaways from that meeting. And then on the other end, we're talking about what are the benefits that the community got out of this, out of what we call the community benefit agreement. This is, folks, a best practice. I work with uh, I worked on community real estate deals like this in both Tampa and Baltimore, but by far this is the best one because it truly engaged from the bottom up to make sure that residents, by way of the West Tampa CDC, who represent the residents, was at the table, was articulating, is and able to position itself in order to bring back resources to the table. So that being said, let's go.
Hopefully everyone had a good holiday weekend and ready to take it in for a landing, right, Rob?
Okay, it's pausing this, and we'll go right back.
Real quick, this is West Tampa CDC. So we have logged in. So we actually have been, we'll be speaking there as during the public comment session. So we've already signed up.
Again, you can't get no higher level than to be at the table with this gentleman here. He is the CEO of Related Group, a $50 billion, they've done $50 billion in sales. This is what we call communities being at the decision-making table.
To speak on behalf of the project. Now, you should know that this is going to become the one item 20 and 21. So it might not be to that afternoon that this particular project is going to be heard. And there's a lot of other things that's going to be going on during that particular day. They got a lot of things packed up in there, especially with the tenant rights bill that's.
So again, this is what we mean being on those top level discussions.
No, thank you. I think that's a great point. So I think in the beginning, whoever from the team should want to speak there, that would be the time, because you're right. Then the item's not going to come up till much later in the day, and hopefully we get a time certain for that 1:30. So right after lunch, but everyone can introduce themselves and just talk a little bit on their support there on the project side.
So we weren't just at the table, we was actually engaging in conversation and ideas.
On this project at the top level. Oftentimes, when developers come to the community doesn't come at the decision-making level at this level right here. This is truly a community-driven process that allows the community to be part of the project, and that's almost unheard of. So that's the other thing we can't lose trace of, is the fact that it was so connected with making sure the community had a voice at the table. That's what's different about a lot of projects that's being done. Most projects focus on bricks and mortar. They don't focus on the people. And this, in addition to the fact that you got a good team, what's making it different than any other thing that's out there, the fact that this is community driven. And I want to thank everybody that's part of this team for making it happen. Because from the community perspective, finally, we win. We get something that we can say we brought home the bacon. So thank you so much for giving us an opportunity from the West Tampa CDC side of the table for being part of this collaborative.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for being a great teammate.
Thank you, sir.
I do want to just talk to the group about a matter of procedure.
So let's continue.
Thank you again, everybody, for coming together. And like I said, and it's good to hear, the fact that, it took us a little while to get here, but as Michael said, this has been a real community-centered process. Obviously, we had a great team assembled, but this is a very, I think it's going to be a very impactful project, to go into, like, I guess, part two of what we were able to accomplish there with West River. But this one is even more because we assembled a team from the beginning and work with the community hands-on from the beginning. So we're excited about that, and we're ready to get it going. I'll actually be there. I'm going to get there on Wednesday.
So our takeaway from this particular project is the West Tampa CDC Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center. Now, in part, we're looking for funding from this community of benefit that we can use to leverage even more funding from foundations and corporations. And we've already lined up who those potential funders are. But this is what we call bringing home the bacon. So let me give you a little bit of information about West Tampa. West Tampa is a community, the area that we represent, again, because we don't represent the entire what they call West Tampa, but we represent a part of that area. We represent 6 census tracts. And in those census tracts is heavily African American, heavily low income, heavily crime crime infested, and not like most communities, but we do have there is crime, so it's typical of that. Drugs, lack of housing, all of those things are the same as in most neighborhoods that are what we call underserved and marginalized. This deal right here changes the whole narrative and the resources that's being brought back. We're talking about in a community that has been marginalized. Now we're talking about a technology center where young kids are learning how to use artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, learn about what Web3 is and how Web3 can be used as a way of creating income. Learn about web applications, how to do phone application, all those things related to artificial intelligence. Teaching young kids, including the megaverse. The wealth building part of the project focus on creating wealth by working with residents to start their own business by way of e-commerce and home-based business. As you know, the market, the highest market out there that's acting the best is both e-commerce and home-based in terms of business growth. This is going to be consistent of anywhere from 40 to 60 businesses getting started in West Tampa that are both part-time and full-time. there are literally hundreds of different types of businesses that can be started related to home-based businesses. What's important about this is the leverage it provides in helping people with criminal records, seniors who are on fixed income, young people seeking income, families that are struggling. Small home-based e-commerce businesses give them that opportunity to create that side money or full-time money, whatever the case might be. And this leads to job creation. At the end of the day, I think what it shows is how we can use community benefits agreement in such a way to leave the community people in a better position than they were before the project. In most cases, it's just the opposite. In most cases, when you hear about redevelopment, the community people are in a worse position than it was before the development. This is truly what I consider to be a best practice model on how to cover the different components. And what do I mean? A strategy that leads to wealth building, a strategy that leads to a reduction in crime, and a strategy that leads to actually providing opportunities for the very much vulnerable people, an opportunity for income to level the playing field. So again, I cannot thank the different players that was part of this particular deal. This is what we call reducing gentrification by design. When you can do a project that leaves the very people that's vulnerable in a better position than they were before the project, this is what we call truly um, uh, reducing gentrification by design and by purpose. Again, I'm just one of so many folks that I've met around the country that are black, female, and black men that are stepping up to the plate and finding ways to level the playing field and making sure that redevelopment doesn't per se mean gentrification. That if we put the mechanism in there necessary that are people friendly, we can actually reduce the impact of gentrification.